हेलो व्यूअर्स। आई एम डॉक्टर संदीप कुमार केसरवानी। आज आपके सामने हम एक नया टॉपिक डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं। उसका नाम है कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट, जो कि फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट का तीसरा सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट है। और इस स्टेटमेंट को जाने बिना किसी भी फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन के बारे में, किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में आप नहीं जान सकते जब तक कि आप कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट को अच्छी तरह समझ न लें। सो कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट अकाउंटिंग का एक सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट है, जो कि सभी को जानना जरूरी है, जो अकाउंटिंग प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, जो मैनेजमेंट में फाइनेंस का स्पेशलाइजेशन ले रहे हैं, या जिन्होंने अपना करियर फाइनेंस में बनाया है। तो आज की क्लास में हम इसी को समझेंगे। तो चलिए आज हम स्टार्ट करते हैं। मैं अपनी क्लास को पीपीटी के थ्रू आपको समझाने की कोशिश करूंगा और उसको सरल शब्दों में हम डिकोड करेंगे। ठीक है, तो मैं अपना पीपीटी के थ्रू आपको स्क्रीन शेयर करके समझाने की कोशिश करूंगा, जो कि बहुत शॉर्ट में कोशिश करूंगा कि मैं आपको ये समझाऊं। तो हमारा जो जो मेन टॉपिक है वो है कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट। ठीक है, ये कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट के बारे में अगर हम बात करें स्टूडेंट, तो कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट की अगर हम बात करें, तो कैश फ्लो का मतलब होता है, मान लीजिए दो बैलेंस शीट हैं। एक है आपका 2023 का, दूसरा है 2024 का। अब इसमें एक फिक्स्ड एसेट दिखा रही है, फॉर एग्जांपल 1 लाख की 2023 में, और 2024 में वो बढ़कर 1,50,000 हो जा रही है। तो अब ये जो रिकॉर्ड होगा, किसकी रिकॉर्डिंग होगी? 1 लाख की होगी कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट में, या 1,50,000 की होगी? नहीं, ना तो 1 लाख की होगी, ना तो 1,50,000 की होगी। जो इसके बीच में जो मूवमेंट हुआ, वो कैश का जो फ्लो हुआ, वो 50,000 की रिकॉर्डिंग होगी कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट में। कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट क्या करता है? मूवमेंट बताता है दो डिफरेंट अलग अलग डेट्स में, या तो एक्सपेंडिचर की या किसी इनकम की। तो हम कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट से हम ये जान सकते हैं कि कितना कैश फ्लो मूव हुआ है, और आज कैश की पोजीशन क्या है, जो कि हमारा फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस से और बैलेंस शीट से हमें ये तो पता लग जाता है कि कितना कैश है हमारे पास, प्रॉफिट कितना हुआ हमारा। लेकिन उनकी रीजंस हमें नहीं पता लग पाते, उस पर हम एनालिसिस नहीं कर पाते कि हमारी एक्चुअली ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज पे कितना खर्च हुआ, इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटीज पे कितना खर्च हुआ, या इनकम हुई, या फाइनेंसिंग एक्टिविटीज से कितना इनकम आई या कितना गई। अगर हम बात करें, थोड़े से रियल वर्ल्ड एग्जाम्पल की बात करें, तो यहाँ पर 4 एग्जाम्पल मैंने लिए हैं। एक जेट एयरवेज का एग्जाम्पल लिया है कि 2019 में जेट एयरवेज ने अपना प्रॉफिट शो किया, उसके बावजूद भी कंपनी जो है डूब गई। उसके पीछे का रीजंस जो है वो हम बाद में बताएंगे, लेकिन जो कि प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस से सफिशिएंट नहीं था। दूसरा है ब्लैकबेरी के बारे में, है कि वाइल पोस्टिंग अ प्रॉफिट, ब्लैकबेरी स्ट्रगल विद द फॉलिंग मार्केट डिमांड। ब्लैकबेरी ने भी अपना प्रॉफिट शो किया अपने प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस के थ्रू, लेकिन फिर भी जो है दे कुड नॉट मेंटेन द लिक्विडिटी इन देयर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस। इसी तरह जनरल मोटर्स के साथ भी है। 2009 का केस है कि जनरल मोटर पोस्टेड अ प्रॉफिट बट कुडंट हैंडल द ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट एंड डेट रीपेमेंट। वो उनकी दूसरी न्यूज आई कि वो अपना डेट भी रीपे नहीं कर पा रहे, और दूसरा वो अपने ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट को भी नहीं बेयर कर पा रहे। द लास्ट वन इज द किंगफिशर एयरलाइंस, जो कि कंटिन्यूअसली रेवेन्यू ग्रोथ दिखा रहे थे, उसके बावजूद भी अपने वो डेट नहीं पे कर पाए, एंड फाइनली दे फेल इनटू द मार्केट। सो दैट्स व्हाई द कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट इज वेरी नेसेसरी टू understand the actual position of a firm, either company. क्यों? बिकॉज विदाउट, जैसे कैश इज कॉल्ड द लाइफ ब्लड ऑफ द बिजनेस, so that's why it is very necessary to every organization to maintain proper cash, and all stakeholders are necessary to exactly know that what are the condition of cash is going on. So why cash flow statement matters? Because profit opinion, profit is just only opinion. The cash flow is exactly fact. So that's why every stakeholder, investors, even suppliers, if they have stake in the particular business, they must know the exact position of the cash. So here, if I engage you, then there is two questions. Says, can a profitable company still go bankrupt? Yes, the profitable company can also be bankrupt if there is not sufficient amount of cash. They are not managing their cash. Why might an investors care more about the cash flow than profit? One expected answer is that cash flow, real liquidity, not just a theoretical earning. Yes, through the cash flow statements, we understand the real liquidity as well as the reasons of the flowing cash of the any firms, and we can have the idea that exactly the firm is really in the profitable position or not. So moving ahead, students, now come to the part of the introduction. अगर हम बात करें, इंट्रोडक्शंस की बात करें, तो there is a proper way of the introduction. What is that? The traditional financial statement fails to inform the way an enterprise has generated cash and was utilized in the accounting period. The need for the inclusion of the cash summary was therefore recognized. कहने का मतलब स्टूडेंट्स कि हम प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस से हम प्रॉफिट तो जान सकते हैं, बैलेंस शीट से कैश की पोजीशन भी जान सकते हैं, बट वी रीजन डू नॉट नो कि फर्म में कहाँ मूव हो रही कैश, कितने मूव हो रही, एक्सपेंसेस क्या है हमारे, वो उसको जानने के लिए हमें कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत होती है. The summary of cash and cash equivalents transaction receipts and payments during an accounting period is called the cash flow statement. The transactions are categorized as operating, investing and financing. कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट बनाने के लिए हमें तीन एक्टिविटीज की जरूरत होती है. फर्स्ट वन इज ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज, अनदर वन इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटीज, थर्ड वन इज द फाइनेंसिंग एक्टिविटीज. सो एंड वन मोर इज थिंग इज दैट कैश एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंस. हम सबसे पहले जानते हैं कि फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में कैश एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंस कितना है. सबसे पहले उसको भी हम रिकॉर्ड करते हैं अपने किसमें, कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट में. तो कैश कैश इन हैंड डिपॉजिट्स रिपेबल ऑन डिमांड विद बैंक और अदर फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, दिस इज कॉल्ड द कैश. एंड व्हाट आर द कैश इक्विवेलेंट्स? कैश इक्विवेलेंट उनको कहा जाता है जो कि रेडी कैश हो, जिनको कैश में कभी भी कन्वर्ट किया जा सकता है. जैसे शॉर्ट टर्म हाईली लिक्विड इन्वेस्टमेंट्स दैट आर दी रेडीली कन्वर्टेबल into known amount of cash are subject to insignificant risk, change to value, marketable securities and treasury bills. Anything means anything which can be converted at the need of your time into cash. So the cash flow की अगर हम बात करें स्टूडेंट, तो cash flows are outflows of the cash and cash equivalents, movement in cash and equivalents exactly for a period of time. Okay. Coming to the basically three pillars of the कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट. इन अ कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट हम तीन ही चीज प्रिपेयर करते हैं स्टूडेंट. क्या क्या चीज प्रिपेयर करते हैं? कैश ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज, देन कैश फ्रॉम इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटीज, कैश फ्रॉम फाइनेंसिंग एक्टिविटीज. So operating activities क्या होता है? If I'll little introduce you, that cash generated or used from a company in a normal business operations such as sales of goods and services and payments to suppliers and employees. Now talk about investing activities. Cash flow from the purchase and sale of long-term assets like properties, plants, equipment, investments in other companies. Third one is the financing activities. The financing activities is what? In where you arranges the finance as a form of the capital, as a form of anything, either loan, either anything. The cash flow from related to debt, equity, and dividends. This includes issuing or purchasing the stock, borrowing money, and repaying loans. Now, little talk about the details in the cash from operating activities. These are the principal revenue producing activities of the enterprise. Example, cash received from the sale of goods or render services, cash received from royalty fees in the business which are actually the business firm is doing and the cash is arranging. The cash payments to supplier of goods and service, cash payments to and on behalf of the employees. Now moving to the part of the investment activities, cash from investing activities, the acquisition and disposal of the long-term assets and other investments not included in cash equivalents or investing activities. Okay. It includes the inquiring and disposal of debt and equity instruments, property and fixed assets, students. For our examples, cash payments for purchase of fixed assets, cash receipts from disposal of fixed assets, cash payments to purchase and shares, debt instruments of other companies, cash receipts from disposal of above investments. Moving to the third, financing activities, student. The financing activities results in the change in the size and composition of owners' capitals and borrowing of the organization. It includes from the issuing shares, debenture bonds, borrowing and payments, and borrowed amount, loan, etc. Example, if I talk about the example, student, the certain examples of like issue of equity shares, buyback of equity shares, issue and redemption of preference shares, issue of redemption of debentures, long-term loans, payments thereof, and dividend interest. After these three activities, there are certain more things to know about the cash flow statements. What is this? That's rules of the cash flow. If I say student, what are the basic rules? When value of the assets decreases, cash increases. Naturally, it will be. That's when value of assets will be decreases, the cash increases, and the value of the liability increases, the cash decreases. Exactly. What another one in the cash flow? If I uses of cash, if I talk about the when the value of assets increases, then cash decreases. The value of liabilities decreases, then cash increases. It's a normal basic rules. Little one thing to know more about the cash flow statement is, if I talk about the student, that is there are two methods to make entries into cash from operating activities. One is the direct method, another one is the indirect method. In the direct method, what happens exactly, student? It is very long and lengthy. Why it is long and lengthy? Because it is recorded from all the means items which are in the trial balance. For example, net sales. After the net sales, you will deduct all the direct expenses, indirect expenses, those expenses which are needed to deduct, means which you have already incurred, means all the expenses as you put in the uh, profit and loss account. You have to mention all these things, and it becomes too lengthy. Mainly, always the indirect method is used into the uh, operating activities. Let us see, you can see the examples that's in the direct methods. The cash from customers, sales, account receivables, everything is getting added, and unearned revenue, whatever the cash has been generated, you will add it. Then cash to supplier, the cost of goods sold, whatever you have received, everything. Naturally, in the commonly, if I talk about the direct method, is never used because it's a too lengthy and sometimes become difficult to understand also. But the net indirect method is commonly is in the practice, and the whenever the net income is written, means all the non-cash expenditures, are getting added, and non-cash incomes are deducted from the net incomes. And the finally, both give same results, but the indirect method is little easy and little more commonly in the practice. Little more things to know more about the cash flow statements, that sometimes the expenses depends on the nature of the business. Suppose that if company is dealing in financial product, then interest paid would be the operating activities. Then interest received will be operating activities. Okay, dividend paid would be financing activities, and dividend received would be operating activity. When company is in the financial in the nature, when company is the non-financial, means it is not dealing in the financial product but dealing other something, then the same interest would be the financing activity. The interest received would be investing activities, and dividend paid would be financing activities, and dividend received would be investing activities. More thing to know more about the treatment of interest. Uh, yes, received on investment, it is an investment inflow. Received from short-term investment classified as a cash equivalent should be considered as a cash inflow from operating activities. Received on trade advances, operating receivables should be in operating inflow. Same thing, the interest paid on loans and debts would be the financing activities. On working capital loan taken to finance operating activities are included into operating inflow. For financial enterprise, it is operating inflow. So students understand this. Then treatment of dividend, if I talk about the treatment of dividend, the dividend for non-financial enterprise, if you dividend received, it would be investing inflow. For financial, it will be operating inflow. Dividend paid always classified as a financing inflow. Okay. Now, treatment of tax, if I talk about the cash flow from the tax payments, refund should be classified cash from operating activities. Tax deducted at source against income or operating cash outflow if concerned income are operating. Cash flow for tax payment identified with a specific investing or financing flow should be classified as an investing or financing flow respectively. For example, dividend tax is recognized as a finance flow. So this was the student the cash flow statement, and certain more things, and little more the about the non-cash transactions. The non-cash transactions, there should not be included anything. There should be excluded from a cash flow statement. These transactions should be disclosed in the financial statement. All the non-cash, it never takes place in the cash flow statement. For example, acquisition of assets by assuming direct related liabilities, acquisition of enterprise by means of issue of equity shares, conversion of debt into equity. So disclosure of cash and cash equivalent, the component of the cash and cash equivalent should be disclosed. Reconciliation of the amount of cash flow statement with the equivalent items reported in the balance sheets. The amount of cash and cash equivalent balance held by enterprise that are not available for use with the explanation by management, the amount of undrawn borrowing facilities that may be available for future operating activities. So this was the student basic concept I tried to tell you about the cash flow statement. I have not solved any question in this online mode, but I tried to disclose you. Thank you, students. I hope you would understood this. Thank you for listening my complete lecture.